And one of the greatest mistakes many people make is believing that life is controlled from the outside. But the truth is, your life is first shaped from within. Before a woman ever changes her career, her finances, her relationships, or her environment, she must first learn to master her own mind. Because every action begins as a thought, and every thought eventually becomes a habit. And habits, repeated long enough, become a destiny. Most people wake up in the morning and immediately surrender their mind to the world. The first thing they touch is their phone. The first thing they consume is noise, notifications, comparisons, and before they even leave the bed, their peace has already been interrupted. But a wise woman understands something very important. The morning is not just the start of a day, it is the foundation of the mind. If you lose your mind in the morning, you will spend the rest of the day trying to recover emotionally. This is why powerful women lead. And the discipline of mental preparation. They do not wake up reacting, they wake up directing. They decide what deserves their attention. They protect the atmosphere of their mind because they understand that the quality of a person's life is determined by the quality of their thoughts. You must understand this principle. Your mind is a garden, and every day something is being planted into it. Fear can be planted, doubt can be planted, jealousy can be planted, anxiety can be planted, but confidence can also be planted. Peace can be planted, vision can be planted, discipline can be planted. The question is not whether seeds are entering your mind. The question is, who is planting them? Many women are emotionally exhausted, not because life is impossible, but because their mind has become overcrowded with unnecessary burdens. They are carrying yesterday's pain, tomorrow's worries, and other people's expectations all at the same time. And eventually, the mind begins to break under the W, that of unmanaged thoughts. A woman who wants to become strong must learn the art of mental separation. She must separate what matters from what does not. She must stop giving permanent emotional energy to temporary situations. Not every opinion deserves a response. Not every insult deserves attention. Not every conflict deserves participation. Maturity is knowing what to ignore. And this is where emotional discipline becomes powerful. Emotional discipline is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to control emotion instead of allowing emotion to control you. Anyone can react. Anyone can become angry. Anyone can speak carelessly in moments of frustration. But it takes wisdom to pause. It takes strength to remain calm when everything around you is trying to provoke you. The strongest woman in the room is often not the loudest one. It is the one who has mastered herself. You see, confidence is deeply connected to self-awareness. Women who constantly seek validation from others, sometimes they often do so because they have not yet developed a stable relationship with themselves. They need applause to feel valuable. They need attention to feel beautiful. They need acceptance to feel secure. But when a woman truly understands her worth, she stops begging the world to confirm it. A woman who knows herself walks differently. She speaks differently. She chooses differently. Her standards rise naturally because self-respect changes behavior. She no longer tolerates environments that poison her peace. She no longer chases people who do not appreciate her value. She no longer competes with other women because secure people do not build identity through comparison. And one of the most important daily habits a woman must master is silence and reflection. In a noisy world, silence has become rare. Yet silence is where clarity is born. Every powerful person spends time alone with their thoughts. Because if you cannot sit alone with yourself peacefully, then you have not yet mastered your inner world. There is something dangerous about constantly distracting yourself. Noise prevents self-examination, and many people stay busy because they are afraid to confront what they truly feel. But growth begins when honesty begins. You must be willing to ask yourself difficult questions. What habits are weakening me? What thoughts are controlling me? What fears are limiting me? What kind of woman am I becoming through my daily behavior? Because life does not move in the direction of your wishes. It moves in the direction of your discipline. And every single day, you are training your mind either towards strength or weakness. The conversations you entertain, the media you consume, the people you allow close to you, the thoughts you repeat internally, all of these are shaping your future identity. Never underestimate the power of your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself matters. Some women destroy their own confidence before the world even gets the chance. They could. Constantly repeat words of defeat over their life. I'm not enough. I can't do it. Nobody cares about me. but your mind believes what you repeatedly tell it. You must learn to speak life into yourself, speak vision into yourself, speak strength into yourself. Because eventually, your mind begins to follow the language you consistently feed it. A woman who masters her mind becomes difficult to destroy. Circumstances may shake her, but they cannot control her. Criticism may surround her, but it cannot define her. Challenges may test her, but they cannot break her spirit. Because once a woman learns to govern her inner world, she gains the power to transform every outer part of her life. And that is where true greatness begins, not outside of you, but within you. Once a woman begins to master her mind, the next transformation must happen in her habits. Because mindset without discipline eventually becomes frustration. You can think positively all day long, but if your daily routines are very weak, your future will remain weak. Life does not reward intentions. Life responds to patterns. And this is where many people misunderstand success. They admire powerful women, but they rarely study the habits that created that power. They see confidence, elegance, intelligence, financial stability, emotional maturity, but they do not see the years of discipline behind those qualities. Every strong woman you admire was shaped privately long before she was recognized publicly. Your habits are building you even when you do not notice it. Every single day, you are either increasing your value or decreasing it. There is no neutral lifestyle. The books you read are shaping your thinking. The conversations you entertain are shaping your mindset. The food you consume is shaping your energy. The people around you are shaping your standards. Even the way you spend your free time is shaping your future identity. That is why discipline is one of the highest forms of self-respect. When a man begins to value herself properly, she stops living carelessly. She becomes intentional. She understands that her life is too valuable to waste on constant distraction. And one of the greatest distractions of modern society is comfort without purpose. Many people are addicted to entertainment but disconnected from growth. They spend hours consuming content that develops nothing within them. And then they wonder why they feel empty. Growth requires investment. A woman who wants to become exceptional must develop the habit of learning daily. The human mind was designed to expand. And when a person stops learning, they slowly stop evolving. This is why reading is powerful. Listening to wise conversations is powerful. Studying communication is powerful. Learning about finances, leadership, emotional intelligence, and personal development is powerful. Knowledge changes the way you see the world. And once your perspective changes, your decisions begin to change. You cannot live beyond. Add the limits of your thinking. And let me say something important here. Intelligence is attractive. Not arrogance, not loudness, intelligence. A woman who can think clearly, communicate wisely, and carry herself with understanding becomes unforgettable. Because beauty may capture attention temporarily, but wisdom sustains respect permanently. This is why communication must become a daily discipline. The words you choose reveal the condition of your mind. Some women speak without thinking and damage opportunities, relationships, and credibility. But wise women understand the power of controlled language. They do not speak to impress people. They speak to express clarity. You must learn when to speak, how to speak, and when silence is more powerful than words. And alongside intellectual growth must come physical discipline. Your body is not simply for appearance. It is the container of your energy, your focus, your emotional stability, and your long-term health. Many women neglect they themselves while spending their lives caring for everyone else. But you cannot pour strength into others if you are constantly empty yourself. Rest matters. Nutrition matters. Movement matters. Your physical habits affect your emotional state more than you realize. A tired body often creates an irritated mind. An unhealthy routine slowly weakens confidence. But when a woman takes care of herself consistently, she begins to feel different internally. Her posture changes. Her energy changes. Her presence changes. And notice this carefully. Discipline creates confidence. Confidence is not built by motivational speeches alone. It is built by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you commit to growth and follow through, you strengthen self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of inner power. Weak habits create self-doubt because deep inside, you know you are not living at your potential. Another habit women must master is financial awareness. Now, this is not merely about becoming wealthy. It is about becoming responsible. Money itself is not power, but understanding money gives you freedom of choice. Too many people live emotionally because they live financially unprepared. They panic easily because they never develop discipline with resources. A wise woman understands that every financial decision is connected to future peace. Saving matters. Planning matters. Learning valuable skills matters. Independence matters. Because dependence without wisdom often leads people into situations where they tolerate disrespect simply to survive. Never allow temporary comfort to destroy long-term freedom. And perhaps one of the most overlooked habits in personal growth is consistency. People love motivation because motivation feels exciting. But motivation is temporary. Discipline is what changes lives. Some days you will feel inspired. Some days you will not. But mature women understand that growth cannot depend on emotion. You do not brush your teeth only when you feel inspired. You do it because discipline has turned it into identity. In the same way, successful habits must become part of who you are, not just something you attempt occasionally. Small habits seem insignificant in the moment, but repeated daily, they become life-changing. A few pages read every day become knowledge. A daily walk becomes health. Saving small amounts consistently becomes stability. Speaking positively becomes confidence. Managing emotions daily becomes peace. This is how powerful women are built quietly, consistently, intentionally. Not through perfection, but through repetition. And one day people will look at your strength and call it natural, never realizing that what they are witnessing is the result of habits you practiced long after excuses would have been easier. Because the woman who masters her daily habits eventually masters her future. As a woman begins to master her mind and build disciplined habits, something else naturally begins to change. Her standards. Because growth changes what you tolerate. You cannot continue evolving while remaining emotionally connected to environments that constantly drain your peace. And one of the greatest signs of maturity is learning that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary. Many women spend years exhausting themselves trying to keep everyone happy. They become emotionally available to people who contribute nothing to their growth. They over-explain, they over-give, they overextend themselves. And eventually they become mentally and emotionally depleted. Why? Because they never learned the power of boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep love out. Boundaries are wisdom that protects your value. A woman without boundaries will constantly be manipulated by the emotions, expectations, and demands of others. People will consume her energy without respecting her spirit. And the tragedy is that many women mistake this exhaustion for kindness. But there is a difference between being loving and being available for misuse. Mature women understand this principle. Access to your life is a privilege, not a right. Not everyone deserves your time. Not everyone deserves your vulnerability. Not everyone deserves unlimited emotional access to you. Some people enter your life only to create confusion, insecurity, distraction, and emotional instability. And if you do not learn discernment, you will spend your years emotionally attached to people who are spiritually assigned to drain you. This is why saying no becomes a form of self-respect. Now, many people struggle with this because they fear disappointing others. They fear rejection. They fear being misunderstood. But understand something important. Every time you betray yourself to gain acceptance, you weaken your identity. You teach people that your limits can be ignored. And over time, resentment begins to grow inside you because your spirit recognizes when your voice has been silenced. A strong woman learns how to disappoint people without feeling guilty about it. That does not mean becoming rude or cold-hearted. It means becoming emotionally healthy enough to understand that your peace cannot survive constant people-pleasing. You cannot build a meaningful life while carrying the emotional demands of everyone around you. And this becomes especially important in relationships. One of the most dangerous things a woman can do is confuse attention with love. Attention is easy to give. Real love requires responsibility, consistency, respect, and emotional safety. Many women settle for temporary validation because they secretly fear loneliness. But loneliness is not the greatest danger. Losing yourself is. Never reduce your standards just because someone gives you attention. A woman who knows her worth does not beg for love, chase approval, or compete for someone's respect. She understands that healthy relationships are built on mutual honor, not emotional desperation. And this is why emotional intelligence is so important. Emotional intelligence allows you to recognize patterns before they become pain. Some people show you who they are very early, but because emotions are involved, many ignore the warning signs. They excuse disrespect. They tolerate dishonesty. They accept inconsistency. And eventually, what they ignored in the beginning becomes the very thing that breaks them later. Wisdom pays attention. You must learn to observe energy, character, consistency, and integrity. Because words can be manipulated, but patterns reveal truth. And emotionally mature women stop falling in love with potential while ignoring reality. They stop trying to rescue people who are committed to remaining unhealthy. You cannot heal someone by destroying yourself. And let me say this carefully. Peace is one of the highest forms of wealth. A peaceful mind is more valuable than public approval. A peaceful home is more valuable than temporary excitement. A peaceful spirit is more valuable than toxic attachment disguised as passion. Some women stay connected to chaos because chaos feels familiar. They grew so accustomed to emotional instability that calmness feels strange to them. But healing changes your appetite. When you grow emotionally, you stop finding pleasure in drama, gossip, manipulation, and conflict. You begin craving honesty, maturity, stability, and depth. And one of the greatest habits a woman can develop is the habit of emotional detachment from unnecessary conflict. Not every battle deserves your participation. Some arguments are invitations into foolishness. Some people provoke you because they want access to your emotions. But maturity teaches restraint. You do not have to attend every emotional invitation given to you. There is strength in silence. There is power in walking away peacefully. There is wisdom in refusing to allow temporary emotions to control permanent decisions. And this also applies to friendships and social circles. The P. People around you either increase your strength or weaken your focus. Energy is transferable. If you constantly surround yourself with negativity, complaining, jealousy, and small-minded thinking, eventually your spirit absorbs it. But when you surround yourself with disciplined, wise, purposeful people, your own thinking begins to rise. Never underestimate the influence of your environment. A woman who desires growth must become selective. Selective with her relationships. Selective with her conversations. Selective with her emotional investments. Because your life moves in the direction of what constantly influences you. And perhaps the deepest form of self-respect is this: learning to walk away from what no longer aligns with your peace, your dignity, or your future. That takes courage. Because sometimes growth requires separation. Not because you hate people, but because you finally love yourself enough to stop abandoning your own well-being. And the moment a woman truly understands her value, she stops chasing what disturbs her peace and starts protecting what strengthens her soul. At some point in every woman's life, she must ask herself a very important question. Who am I becoming through the way I live every day? Not who people expect you to be. Not who your circumstances forced you to become, but who you are intentionally building yourself into through your choices, your habits, your standards, and your mindset. Because whether you realize it or not, every single day is shaping your future identity. Your future is not suddenly arriving one day out of nowhere. It is being constructed quietly through daily decisions. The way you manage your emotions today is creating the woman you will become tomorrow. The discipline you practice today is shaping your future confidence. The boundaries you establish today are protecting your future peace. And the wisdom you pursue today is preparing you for responsibilities you have not even encountered yet. This is why a wise woman stops living only for temporary satisfaction and begins living with purpose. Purpose changes behavior. When a woman has no vision for her life, she becomes easily distracted. She moves emotionally instead of intentionally. She wastes years chasing things that never truly fulfill her because she has not yet discovered what she was designed to build, contribute, and become. But purpose creates direction, and direction gives life meaning. You see, many people are busy, but very few are truly focused. Activity does not always equal progress. A woman can spend years moving without actually growing. She can remain trapped in cycles of procrastination, unhealthy relationships, emotional instability, and fear simply because she never developed a clear vision for herself. Vision is powerful because vision disciplines you. When you know where you are going, certain behaviors become unacceptable to you. Certain environments become too small for your future. Certain conversa become too draining for your focus. Purpose forces maturity because you begin to realize that every distraction has a cost. And one of the greatest enemies of destiny is excuses. Excuses are dangerous because they sound reasonable while slowly destroying potential. I'll start later. I'm too tired. I don't have enough support. Maybe someday. Meanwhile, time continues moving, and life does not reward what you intended to do. It responds to what you actually do consistently. The difference between average and exceptional people is often hidden in daily discipline. Successful women are not women who never struggle. They are women who continue despite struggle. They continue when motivation disappears. They continue when progress feels slow. They continue when nobody applauds them. Because mature women understand that consistency is more powerful than emotion. You cannot build a strong future on unstable habits. And this is why emotional resilience becomes critical. Life will test every woman eventually. There will be disappointments, betrayals, delays, losses, criticism, seasons of confusion, moments where nothing seems to work the way you expected. But emotionally mature women do not allow temporary pain to permanently define them. Pain can either make you bitter or wiser. Everything depends on how you respond to it. Some women allow hardship to harden their heart and destroy their confidence. Others allow hardship to refine them, to deepen them, to strengthen their discernment, to teach them patience, wisdom, and self-control. The strongest women are often not those who avoided difficulty, but those who survived difficulty without losing their identity. And there is something powerful about a woman who remains graceful under pressure. Not because she feels no emotion, but because she has learned how to govern herself internally. She understands that circumstances are temporary, but character is permanent. And eventually character becomes legacy. Now when people hear the word legacy, they often think only about fame, wealth, or public success. But true legacy is much deeper than that. Legacy is the impact your life leaves on others. It is the atmosphere you create when you enter a room. It is the wisdom you pass down. It is the example your discipline creates. It is the way people feel strengthened, inspired, or healed because of your presence. Every woman is teaching something through the way she lives. The question is, what lesson is your life communicating? Because younger women are watching, children are watching, friends are watching, society is watching. And whether intentionally or unintentionally, your habits are becoming someone else's example. This is why personal growth is never only personal. When a woman transforms herself positively, she influences generations. A disciplined woman changes families. A healed woman changes environments. A wise woman changes conversations. And a purposeful woman change. Less history. But none of this happens accidentally. It requires intentional living. It requires daily self-examination. It requires courage to evolve beyond old versions of yourself. Growth is uncomfortable because growth demands separation from immaturity. You cannot become a stronger woman while remaining loyal to weak habits, toxic thinking, and self-destructive behaviors. Transformation always requires sacrifice. And perhaps the greatest transformation occurs when a woman finally stops waiting to become someone powerful and begins building that woman intentionally every day. Not through perfection, not through comparison, not through pretending to have life completely figured out, but through daily commitment to growth. Little by little, decision by decision, habit by habit, she becomes emotionally stronger, mentally sharper, spiritually deeper, and personally wiser. And over time, people begin to notice something different about her presence. Not because she is seeking attention, but because discipline naturally produces confidence. There is a quiet power that emerges from a woman who has mastered herself. She no longer needs to prove her worth constantly because her life speaks for her. She no longer fears standing alone because she has developed inner stability. She no longer chases validation because purpose has become greater than approval. And eventually she becomes the kind of woman her future self will look back on with gratitude because she had the courage to become who she was created to be. And that is the true goal of growth. Not merely to impress the world, but to fulfill your potential before your time runs out.